Welcome to this edition of the Stories to Tell podcast. In this episode, our special guest is Tibbany Ho. Tibbany is quite an inspiring person with the true spirit of adventure that is ever present through her life and also carries forward into her art. In this episode, Tibbany relates some great stories about the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, facing her fears at the Bosque Del Apache, where she finds inspiration and creativity in her art, and wait until you hear about the remarkable and loving way she wakes her kids up each day. And we start things off with the New Mexico adventure that didn't go quite as planned.
I'll tell you a funny story of one time when we were camping, our first camping foray with the Girl Scouts. So my husband was a Boy Scout, super into Scouts. He's very big into nature too. And we decided to sign the girls up for Girl Scouts because we wanted them to get outdoors and have camping experiences. And so our first trip was supposed to be at Cochiti Lake, which we had never been. We were pretty new to the area still. So we're excited. It was a Friday night when we left, though. So we had just gotten out of work. It was like rush to get the truck packed up, get everything packed up. We were tent campers at the time. Now we're a little spoiled and have a trailer now, which
Right.
we're really, really excited about. But get everything packed up, get the kids loaded after school, and we're going to go to Cochiti Lake and find where we're camping. So I plug it into the GPS. We're on our way. It's beautiful. We start going down. We end up in this dirt road, and then the dirt road kind of gets dicier, and it's like we're on the edge of this ravine or something, dried up ravine. And my husband is like, how can anybody go down this road? I don't this isn't even a road. I don't understand. But we just keep going because the GPS tells us, it's up yonder. We're getting a little scared though, because we're not seeing much. There's a lot of bear scat on the side, a lot of snake holes, and here we are trying to find the lake. Well, we get to 0.2 miles away, and we're looking there.
No lake.
There's no lake. There's no lake. So I start frantically plugging stuff back into, researching in the GPS again. And yeah, I was totally wrong. I don't know what I put in, but it was not Cochiti Lake. In fact, we were now 2 hours away.
Oh my gosh.
It's 6 or 7 o'clock at night. The sun's starting to go down. We're in the middle of nowhere. And it's
oh my gosh.
Do we set up camp here? I don't know, and risk it with the bears? We've got a truck bed full of food and, so Alex just starts gunning it out. My husband is gunning it out of there, and I'm holding on to the side it was
you were just
a safari, basically.
We don't know where we're going, but we know this isn't where we're supposed to be.
But needless to say, we went home and decided to try again the next day. I was fired from navigation, and all we could do is laugh because it's just what can you do at that point?
No, so the Girl Scouts didn't send out a search party for you or something? First...
Yeah, once we got into service, we were like, hey, so... Not going to make it there tonight.
They could have got one of those. Do they do badges, for completing activities?
Right? Yes.
Go find the Ho family somewhere.
Exactly. I would not have earned the navigation badge. Let's put it that way. It's a good thing I was not a Girl Scout.
The Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta is quite a remarkable event where there can be over 600 hot air balloons that fill the skies in the greater Albuquerque area each morning for 9 days in October. Tibbany tells about some favorite experiences from this event and what it's like getting involved with some of the balloon teams.
We've gotten into hot air ballooning and into that community. So my kids have had the opportunity and we've all had the opportunity to fly in a hot air balloon and crew for balloon, which is quite a unique experience for children.
Tell me more about that, or what kind of experiences have you had crew? And that's kind of unusual.
It's really cool. So we met a pilot through friends of ours that work with Alex. They've crewed for years for this woman, Adele Woodruff. And, she's just amazing. I find that whole community is so welcoming. It's a unique family, almost like a family, if you will.
Oh, wow.
Of people, just the whole community. I mean, there's a few different balloons that we crew for. But flying, I got to fly my first time during Balloon Fiesta, which is also a phenomenal event here in Albuquerque, and there's nothing like it. I never thought I would be so excited over hot air balloons, but it just never gets old.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just so people know who aren't as familiar, because I agree with you, we're completely spoiled out here with that activity because, we get to see balloons in the sky so often. It's so unusual. What does it mean to crew? What's involved with that? Besides getting up at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, I was going to say, you wake up really early. You see how the winds are blowing. Sometimes we unpack the balloons. Sometimes we hang out and tailgate and just have a big family feast on the field or wherever we're launching from. But you listen to your pilot. Your pilot will direct you. You really help with the setup and inflation of the balloon. You help with the flight. And then you get to, after they take off and are up in the air, you hop in the van or the truck, whatever you're chasing in, and then you go find, you follow and go find them, and then you help pack up when they land.
When we went to the field for the first time, that we were just like little kids.
Yeah.
Like seeing all these colors and shapes and everything. It was amazing. What do you remember of your first time going down there?
Yeah, I think just being surrounded by, it's like you go from seeing all the field to just being surrounded by colors and people and the zebra folks, launching the balloons. It's wild. It's a wild experience, definitely. And then just looking up and just seeing all these balloons in the air. It's very magical.
Yes, like something you've never seen before.
Something you've never seen before, yeah.
Do you end up going down every year now, or?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, we've been going every year since we pretty much the year after we moved here back in 2017.
Right on.
So, yeah.
We try to, when we go down to the field for the Special Shapes Day, we kind of like that when those, about 100 of them that, like an Elvis Presley or a rocket ship or a can of dog food or something, when the balloons are all shaped really strangely.
That's our favorite too. And the kids love getting the little trading cards. So each balloon has its own trading card, and their job as part of the crew is to give out the cards to the other kids that come around too. So they love that experience.
What was the first time you had the opportunity to fly in a balloon? Again, that's kind of an unusual thing that most people don't get to do. What was that like? What was that? Was it kind of scary, or was it just, what were you thinking?
It was really thrilling. So I went up for the first time. I didn't know I was going to get to go up that day. It was during Fiesta.
Oh.
Yeah, I want to say maybe the second Fiesta we had gone to, maybe like 2018. Didn't know I was going up. They had me sign a paper, and I was like, what am I signing my life away for?
Right. It never says, this is going to go perfect.
Do you want to fly? And I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to. And it was really incredible in seeing just Albuquerque and the Fiesta field from a different perspective. It was a little windy, I think, the day we went up, so it was kind of a little bit of a sporty landing, as they would call it. But we were fine.
Did you end up going quite a ways away from the field?
We didn't go super far. Yeah, we weren't super far, because I had a very wonderful pilot who is very safe and very conscious of that. So yeah, it was a very short flight, but very thrilling flight. And then you just kind of hang out there until the crew gets you.
What was it like to be up there with bunch of other balloons because time I went up, there was just the one. We didn't even have anything else.
Yeah.
Was that kind of cool to see them at all different?
It was, just magical. I mean, I talk about fear because it wasn't her saying what elevation we were at, but me trying to take pictures of everything going on, and I just felt like, oh my gosh, I'm going to drop my phone over the edge. But it was just like, I cannot believe this is happening right now. It felt very surreal, but also very serene, like you were saying. Like there's just a quiet calm, and I get that when I'm hiking and camping too. Kind of again that moment of like presence and being there, really feeling all of your senses. The wind going in your hair and just listening to the whir of the wind and all the other balloons inflating and. It was a magical experience for sure.
In this story, Tibbany talks about facing one of her biggest fears, and it's at a wildlife refuge that is home to tens of thousands of birds just south of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
We had an experience to Bosque Del Apache. Have you been?
Yeah, what's that? What's Bosque Del Apache?
So that's a wildlife area refuge, and the Sandhill Cranes come in every year. I believe is it from like October to January or somewhere in that time frame. But it's like the movie Birds, basically. Which I am also... Right. It's like birds, and I am also terrified of birds. But coolest thing, hands down, I've ever seen is, we got up early for that too. I got my tripod out. This is when I first started shooting photos too. And we thought it would be a neat experience. And it was just like the wildest thing I've ever experienced. And you just hear them all coming.
Like how many are you seeing in the skies? Like
I feel like there were, it was like littered black,
Right. Like they literally do fill up
like
the skies, right?
Giant swarm.
Thousands. Yeah.
It's like nothing. And then all of a sudden, like thousands coming in at the same time. And
were you at dusk or in the morning?
We were in the morning.
In the morning.
Sunrise, yeah.
Did you capture them when they were kind of getting up in the morning and leaving?
Oh, no, they were coming.
Oh,
they were coming in.
They were
They were coming in hot.
And I was like, you're kind of like, I remember it.
I remember that feeling because I was both terrified and just like absolutely astonished and excited at the same time. It was just like thrilling in so many ways.
Were they coming in and landing in like some water?
In water, yeah. They were coming in and landing in the water. But I mean, looking through the camera lens, they look like they're coming straight at you.
So you have a whole series from down there?
Yeah.
I would love to see those. The first time Susan and I went down there, it was dusk. And we were driving around as usual, maybe kind of like your Cochiti story. I don't know, somebody told us to go down and we didn't do any research or nothing.
Adventure.
Yeah, it's an adventure. And we drove around and people were talking about all these birds and we didn't see barely anything. And we're like, well, this is kind of a waste of time. It's a little ways down there. And then we pulled out and went back on this main road. And all of a sudden, so it's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 o'clock or something like that. We see all these other cars coming towards us while we're leaving and we're watching them. And all these cars are pulling over by the side of the road. And I swear everyone that was getting out of their cars had one of those like National Geographic lens that I was like, how does that even fit in your car? It was like a foot.
How are you holding that?
Yeah. And we thought, well, let's just follow those people because there was a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, we stopped, we turned around and we just followed them and we had kind of a similar experience. And it is unbelievable.
It's crazy. Yeah, I can't even describe it, but I just remember being absolutely terrified and excited at the very same time. I was just like, this is the coolest and most terrifying because you really are in like birds, And I'm just
thousands.
Just
right around you. And they'll land not that far from you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I guess you're right. I think I remember you saying you didn't have the greatest affinity towards birds. And I think I remember you saying you were going down there. I was like, talk about facing your fears.
For real.
Yeah.
I did that day and I remember it. I remember it well, but it was an experience for sure.
I asked Tibbany what she was most proud of in her life, and she mentioned it was her kids. In this story, you will see how this carries forward into the amazing relationship that she has with them, and in the remarkable way that she gets them up in the morning. She also touches on how being an early riser has impacted her life in a positive way.
See so much of both of us in them, and I see that they're not afraid to take risks or be who they are. My biggest thing, when I was growing up again as a military brat and being the new kid, I was always worried about what other people thought of me.
Sure.
Again, as an adult, I'm kind of reevaluating that, and I'm just being me and allowing them to be who they are and pursue their passions. And I'm really proud that they feel the confidence to do that. Sometimes even more than me, or they're pushing me to do it, share that, Mom, that's so cool.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And they just, I think they are wild spirits like me. I wake them up with a ridiculous song every single morning.
What do you wake them up with?
It's random. I go with what I feel. It's just like ridiculous songs that I make up on the spot.
Not necessarily like.
I don't have a. No, I go with the flow.
Flogging
I make
Molly
up,
song or something. No. Oh, it's your own. It's your own creation.
my own interpretation for the day.
How cool is that?
But it's I always say like you're gonna miss this someday because they're always like.
Did your mom do that? Your mom or dad do that with you?
Yeah, I mean, my mom definitely has a similar personality. We just kind of like very, very free spirit, and my grandmother's too. So
I think that's amazing.
Definitely has been passed down through the generations, but it's fun, and I look back at those memories too, and even just talking with my mom today, I talk to my mom every day, twice a day, because, she's a main still, and that's important to me, and I do it because I want to, I feel very close to my family and my mom, and I just really enjoy talking to her.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that will carry on too with my kids, and they'll want to talk to me. I told them I'll make them a soundtrack when they go to college, so they can set it as their alarm for every day,
the kids
with
in
the little
dorm
tunes and the dancing.
What's that? Yeah.
But it's so funny to see them dancing from their bed, and then they give me
that
the little
amazing.
Ovation.
Really?
Yeah.
What a way to wake them up.
Yeah, I think it's important to start your day, with just on a good note.
Because you're an early riser, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like what time?
4 a.m.
Really?
Every day,
really?
Even on the weekends. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
What do you got going on between that time and the time that you got the song going to wake up the family?
You got to work up to the song, So
you have time.
Got to work up to the song. So lots of coffee is happening in those hours. But that's also something else that I've learned, I think, over the years is how important it is to invest some time in yourself. And everyone's always like, how do you do all these things? But it's important to me, and I make the time to do it because a lot of my creative endeavors are therapeutic to me, or like I said, it's the process, that I'm really driven by, and it inspires me, and it really lifts me up in the day. And so I can be peppy and lift up my kids, when it's 6 o'clock and time for them to roll out of bed. So that's when I'm doing my pursuits. I've been reading books. I'm doing my art. I'm, meditating. I've been meditating as well, doing yoga, just really kind of tuning into what my body and my soul need.
Wow.
Drinking the coffee.
How long have you been doing that now, waking up that early and taking that time for yourself?
I would say a solid year and a half now. And it took me a while to get into the routine. I mean, everyone's like, we tried the Tibbany method, but it is. It's rough. I mean, it was me initially in the beginning, like literally throwing myself out of bed. And I just have to, and some days I still do that, I'll want to be all cozy in my bed still, but I find I'm way more productive and energetic throughout the day if I just do it,
Wow.
just get up, and I feel better too.
Wow.
Yeah.
What other has it taught you other things as well? Just getting up that early every day. Just how has it transformed yourself? From you're doing it a year and a half now. You can reflect back at the time you weren't doing it. And
I just feel better in general. And like I said, I roll into work too. And instead of coming into work all rushed and because the mornings, I've got 3 kids and 2 dogs and a husband, and it's a circus sometimes.
I can't imagine.
Literally a circus.
I just have to get myself going. I know.
Trying to get everybody fed and ready to go and ready to roll. And I've noticed a difference in my kids too. Like I said, I wake them up with a tune. They're all dancing with me.
I love that so much.
And yeah, and I want them to have a good day too. And by the time I get to work, I'm ready to go. I've already had a full morning of things.
Wow. In our final story, Tibbany talks about her art. She is so gifted in so many forms of expression. I was very curious about where this creative spark in her life started, and also where she derives inspiration for all her creative works.
One of my favorite quotes in life from George Eliot is, "It's never too late to be what you might have been." So I am one of those people that just keeps going with what I think I should be and what interests me. When I was a child, I would say, I wanted to be a writer for the longest time. I was really attracted to storytelling. In fact, in my earlier years, I think I remember winning an award for my stories. I was super into horror, so I wrote a lot of spooky stories with WWF characters because I was also very into wrestling.
I was going to say, so it was a horror wrestling thing?
It was a horror wrestling thing.
Oh, man, you got an audience for that, for sure.
It was very interesting. And, I've always been attracted to that. I remember also just being really into photojournalism and treasure hunting in my grandparents' attic in their basement. And my grandmother had this collection of National Geographic stuff. So I was always interested in traveling and photography too. The other memory I remember that I loved was going through her cupboards. Every time I'd go visit, we went through her cupboards, and she had just so many tintype photos. And I remember being fascinated by these photos. I didn't know who they were. They're people in our family, but I would create these stories in my mind about, who they were and what they were up to. And so that was, I think, a natural segue into storytelling for me.
So it was early days then. Early days, sounds like you're a very creative child going through.
Early days, yeah, definitely. And it's interesting because I didn't go into a career path in journalism. I actually am a speech pathologist, though. So still, I wanted other people to be able to tell their stories too and give a voice to students that didn't have a voice. And it was really stories from one of my professor working with students with disabilities that got me into that. And I was really interested. So
wow.
That's where I started.
That is so cool. I never thought about that. I knew you did that for a living, but I never thought that maybe that was part of your passion for wanting to get into that was to, I love what you said, give somebody else their voice.
Yeah, it's very empowering, and you don't realize how important that is. There's different means of storytelling, obviously, like talking like we are now, through photography, through other creative ventures, different ways you can tell stories. So I'm interested in it all.
Was there some favorite memories from when you were a kid that you can remember that really got this started, where, journeys with your grandparents or your parents or something that kickstarted anything in your life? Or
yeah, I really love being outdoors. That's something that I've carried into adulthood too. And now in my artistry and in my creations, I embed a lot of nature and natural elements into the things that I'm creating, because I just think it's so integral to my childhood, and there's something nostalgic about those pieces, and they bring memories. I just created a tray last week that has ferns from my grandmother's backyard, from when we were picking ferns together. And it just like brings back that memory for me of, exploring in her backyard being a kid with my brother out there making spears and making up our own stories. And it's something I think too, like something I want to revive from the past that I don't feel like is carrying over so much into this generation. I mean, I'm a mother of 3 kids, and I send them outdoors, and they're like, but what do we do? Without our YouTube? Like, what do we do? Yeah. But that's something that's important to myself and my husband, is really giving those opportunities for them. So we do a lot of adventuring as a family as well to help instill that creativity and give them memories to bring into the future. My middle daughter's super into collecting bugs, and it's not something I would have thought I would be doing, is posing bugs in resin for her. But, I wanted to try and take that passion and really, like my father always said, like, if you believe, you will achieve. And so follow your passions, follow your direction, whatever you are interested in, take it and run with it. So I want my kids to feel like they have the freedom to do that too, and explore things that they are passionate about and interested in.
Now, did you say that was your father that mentioned that?
My father, yeah.
Has he been someone in your life that's been quite inspirational to you, or? He
has. I mean, he definitely, I remember as a child, he would push us to pursue things and really make sure we were strong academically. Didn't always love that, but as an adult, I appreciate that now. In fact, one of his little quotes that I also tell everybody, because I think I kind of, again, live my life that way, is NO stands for numerous opportunities. So, it's an opportunity to try again. Because I think what holds me back a lot of times is fear from pursuing things. And so I think about that a lot. And that's why I'm doing all these things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you end up having sort of Susan and I talk about, like, when we would post up videos online, say, for our work or whatever, there's a potential fear of failure, or how they'll be received, or someone's going to say, oh, you're horrible or something. Do you have that in your art, or or does it help you become stronger, to say, hey, look, I'm putting a piece of myself out there and someone will really appreciate this,
I used to create with that in mind, like, ooh, is this any good?
Oh.
Are people going to like this? But I think as the older I get, I've shifted that perspective to, focus less on the product and more on the process, because in the doing, I'm learning so much more about myself.
Wow.
And the things that are meaningful for me. Like I was saying, that tray that I made that has a fern from my grandmother's garden, and that's, her charcuterie board or whatever you want to use it for. But if you want to put your cheese on it, but it's, I look at stuff like that. And even in my photography too, like, I love to just capture life. And it's been a meditative process for me, because I'm finding myself really focusing in on details, little details that you wouldn't recognize or catch, as you're walking through the trail or going somewhere. I'm paying attention to that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow. Is there we talked about different mediums. Do you have a favorite? Is photography your thing, or repurposing things, or writing, or?
Yeah, I love both. And I've started to kind of meld mediums. So I'm integrating like photography into some of the things that I'm repurposing from Savers, the thrift shop. I really want to just preserve pieces of history, but almost continue the story. And like, it's like writing your own chapter and kind of making it your own, you know, but I'm taking something that already had a life and a story and kind of breathing new life and keeping it going. So I kind of think about it like that and think about my art like that.
Wow. Do you have any new pursuits that you've been into lately too? Or have you done a photography shoot or created something lately that you're like, wow, this was the piece, you know, this was awesome experience?
I've been doing a lot of photo shoots in my garage, and it sounds crazy. Like, come to my garage, you know, and we're going to shoot some photos. But I have the ability to really control light, and I'm finding that I'm really loving dramatic lighting. I'm a big fan of, again, with the tintypes and my history with that, I think what attracts me to it is the contrast of, you know, highlights and shadows, and really bringing out that detail, kind of stripping things down. It just always evokes such a visceral emotion from me to see photos like that. You know, I love like Dorothy Lang's work, Ansel Adams, you know, all of the black and white photography because of that, because it just evokes this feeling and you're really seeing things black and white, you know,
Yeah.
So I've been really into that lately. I've done some really great portrait work, and it feels like that work is meaningful and emotional. And I just did a shoot for somebody who wanted some headshots, and they were saying, you know, like, I can't believe that's me.
Oh.
Like, so they were seeing themselves in a new light too.
That's got to
which
feel
was really,
amazing.
really cool. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this edition of the Stories to Tell podcast. If you have a story you would like to tell, please reach out. It'll be fun to connect with you.